So last night I messaged Missy. She's one of the people I had tried to go to before Natalie was killed, and it didn't turn out well. I got a message from her this morning. It says, I can't decide how my actions do or do not hurt someone. I'm sorry I hurt you. That's definitely something. That's at least acknowledging it, which is more than I can say for most. Last time her and I spoke was about 5 years ago. I can't go back in time and change it. If I could, where would I change it? At what point? Would I have taken those pills? The day that Natalie rescued me from God, what she really rescued me from was the Boulder police and their incessant bullshit, never allowing me to sleep, continually telling me to move on, waking me up over and over again. You can't sleep here, you can't stay here. Well, I don't have anywhere else to go. You know, wanted to tell me to go to the shelter. I didn't have the ability to walk there. I needed to learn how to do some stuff on the computer. After I hurt my back, my friend Josh Hughes used to be my friend anyway. He was going to teach me how to do some of this stuff on the computer. And instead, I'd give him the money and I'd go to his place. And we were going to learn stuff, and it really just ended up being him doing drugs and alcohol and his girlfriend. No, I didn't want to be there. When you're trying to turn in cops and they know they fucked up, they'll lie out their ass at you. That's why they need to have their body cameras on at all points in time. A lot of times, officers do 80 shit and pretend like they don't know nothing. They don't watch the news and all that bullshit. So, all right, my grandmother's funeral. I was gonna go to court, Joseph Michael Lopez court, see the guy that Natalie was killed by, and it didn't happen. I found out my grandma died. I wasn't too happy about that. Obviously, my grandma was a good woman, at least to me. And that's pretty well what I judged people by until until it became important to expose everything to try to stop all of this. I'm not the only homeless person that this stuff happens to. Now, at my grandma's funeral, um, there's this video right here. This is part of the video for my grandma's funeral. I was in Colorado and found out my grandma died, and I let Eric know, and then I was on a Facebook ban, like before he was able to respond. He asked me for a ride to my grandma's funeral, and I had no way to reach him. So Tabitha's daughter, her name is Sydney, she and Graham gave me a ride to go see my older brother. And of course, we got to where he sleeps, and oh my God, what a fucking mess. Eric wasn't there though. So I came to my grandma's funeral, and I was having a hard time. You know, Ted Bollinger was getting a hold of me for like 7 hours. But he was getting a hold of me on Alicia Bollinger's account. So I was scared for her. And for like 7 hours, I was trying to get him to give me some indication that Alicia was alive. But he didn't give any indication for 7 hours. Meanwhile, I'm having a severe fucking panic attack. You know, he's wanting to get a hold of me, which is fine. If he wants to put a bullet in my head, fuck it. But I needed to know that Alicia was safe. Of course, I called 911. You know, you're supposed to, it's against the law for a police officer not to make a report on a 911 call. These officers here are extremely lazy. None of the cops here can pass a physical fitness test. None of them. They all look pregnant, and they're all guys. They couldn't pass a physical fitness test, and of course, mental competency test. I don't think they'd pass that either. So I called Jordan Anderson. That's the situation there. And Jordan Anderson didn't take it seriously. And Graham was wanting to be in a hurry to get home, and there was a lot of stuff to do. And of course, my mom was, oh my God, that woman is completely fucking batshit goddamn bonkers. And, you know, the funeral happened. Mom wasn't happy to see me. She was bitching that I showed up to the funeral. Uncle Matt, he walks up to me and he says, Sean, your mom's not too happy you came to the funeral. Well, fucking duh. That video only shows half of it. That officer had come back after that, claimed that he had heard Alicia's voice and that she was okay. You know, the thing is, Alicia had my phone number. She had it. Instead of her dad getting onto her YouTube account and harassing me at my grandma's funeral. You know, that's the fucked up thing, is that I'm not allowed to show any of this in court. I'm not allowed to show any of the evidence in court, no matter what. They call me mentally ill and pretend that it's my imagination running wild. But you know, when somebody punches you in the face, they punched you in the face. That's fact that they punched you in the face. If you got a bloody nose from being punched in the face, you got proof that you were punched in the nose because your fucking nose is swollen. Your nose might even be bloody. That officer didn't take it seriously. He pulled the same thing that this asshole did. The just needed someone to talk to. Just needed someone to talk to. Not okay. So Jordan Anderson didn't write a report at all about the situation, and Scott DeCosta admitted it. It was a very serious situation, and Scott DeCosta took it entirely not seriously at all. Now, I went in to talk to Scott DeCosta afterwards and explained to him, hey, I need that tape. I need that footage. You know, obviously, if Jordan Anderson came back and there was more things that he had to say, why aren't they recorded? Why aren't they on his camera? And we've gotten to see many times how police officers have reacted, even with their body cameras on. They want to commit felonies with their body cameras on them, and somebody else's phone records them. Well, why are they so liberal about committing these crimes when their body cameras are actually on? It's because they know that requisitioning that is going to take an act of fucking God or somebody who actually gives a shit. The media can get that. But a homeless person can't. I've been staying with Tabby. I was paying rent there. Graham was supposed to help me. He was supposed to actually sit down and learn something about the situation. And Joshua Eichelberger, well, you know how drunks are. They need attention. Everything that they have to say is what's important. And, you know, it's oxygen deprivation. It's robbed their brain of oxygen, so they don't listen too good. I've had to deal with a lot of that. People who get drunk and then they want to tell you how to think and how to feel. They're not listening to what you had to say. It's not because they're bad people, it's because they're fucking drunk. So, after my grandma's funeral, I had to finish burying my grandma. We were there too long at the cemetery in Brule, and that's where my grandma's from, so that's where she was buried. They didn't rent the machines for long enough to complete burying her because we were there for so long, so I finished. I made sure all the sod was on top of the pile, and then I went and woke up Graham. Me and Graham were the last two there. I had to put the police report that I had written in an envelope and put it on the door to the Dual County Sheriff's Department. Of course, the courthouse was on the second and third floors, but the basement is basically the sheriff's department. It's a small courthouse. I mean, It's not very big at all. So, of course, Graham was there. You get to hear him in the video. I went back to Colorado, and that Kara Johnson Miles lady was supposed to be helping me. And I'd gone to court specifically so that I could turn in Joseph Michael Lopez, or not Joseph Michael Lopez, so that I could see Joseph Michael Lopez and so that I could turn in the officers in Natalie's case in Colorado and many others. I mean, the stuff that they had done was just ungodly wrong. The things that my public pretender had to say and the things that the police had to say to me about my computer, those things needed to come out. Obviously, things weren't going well. Now, when I went to court, I made a video before I went into court. I explained why I was there, that I was there to turn in my predators. But that didn't get to happen. See, after Ted and Alicia fucking with my head at my grandma's funeral and thinking that it's fun and entertaining and shit like that, I mean, it's fucked up. Like, they should have told the truth. Well, not Ted, obviously. You know why he didn't tell the truth. But two of Natalie's ex stepmothers, Shelly and Danica, were in contact with me. And Shelly was pretending like she was going to be friends with me. That would have been great. We probably would have gotten along famously. I'm a pretty tolerant guy. But not when it comes to child abuse, not when it comes to rape, and not when it comes to false accusations. Meanwhile, a lot of people want to pretend like I did horrible things to Natalie that she literally never, ever said that I did. So I get to the courthouse. Mind you, this is after I've gotten quite a few messages about how people are killing homeless people in Denver for looking like me. And so I go into the court. I take some evidence that I was actually there. And then I go in and I sit down and they bring in this camera person. And God, I hate those guys. I really do. Hate is a strong word. It really is, but fucking exploiting people like that. Jesus fucking Christ. You'd think that the media would try to do their job. They would try to do at least a passing job of looking at both sides. But no, that wasn't going to happen. And I wasn't happy about the camera being there, but you know, if you got money and you can buy it, you can buy somebody else's rights. They say you're not allowed to have those cameras in there for safety reasons. What? Showing the truth is a safety reason? Oh, yeah, their safety, the judge's safety. Because if they break the law, they want to get away with it. So I go in there, and of course, Ted Bollinger comes in, right? Now, before he comes in, you know, I'm sitting down, and Denise Kelly is in front of me. Now, I didn't recognize it as Denise Kelly, not until she had said something. Now, I had already said something about the camera being there, how it was, well, not okay. But the bailiff came and said I had to go sit on the other side. This is for the victim's friends and family. Well, I'm sure as fuck not on Joseph Michael Lopez's side, but that's where they made me sit. They even went and had a little backroom meeting before court started. Ted come in, he's throwing a fucking tantrum like a goddamn 2-year-old. Throwing all sorts of fucking tantrum. Meanwhile, I've literally made a video and posted it about me being there to turn these people in. And of course, I don't get to. Next person in is Alicia Bollinger. And she comes in and she's got this fucking pathetic, fake ass goddamn cry. I mean, it sounded like she was trying not to laugh. It's fucking sick. Maybe that's just how she cries. I don't know. But it was pretty fucking disgusting. It sounded fucking disgusting. It was gross. Of course, just like every other situation at that point, I had to go in by myself to take care of this stuff. You know, the closest that I had is Graham and Laura in the video that I just posted over here. They were there and present for the situation. They should have spoken up. They should have made police reports. Both of them needed to. Now, the problem with Graham was that even though I had paid him for help and paid him to look at the evidence, every time that he would stop what he was doing to help me with that, not Josh Rayborn, sorry, there's a lot of people with the same names, a lot of Joshes, a few Mandys. Josh Eichelberger, that's what it was. Every time that Graham was going to get ready to help me, Josh Eichelberger, the drunk, who's craving attention, needed Graham right that moment for something insanely fucking stupid. So, of course, Graham didn't know shit when he was talking. Laura should have done the talking. And when I went to that court date with Joseph Michael Lopez, I really needed somebody there and present there. Somebody to speak up. They tried to violate my rights or prevent me from making a police report. So Ted comes in, starts shouting and hooting and hollering. She was a little girl, my teen girl. Dude, you don't give a fuck about your daughters. You raped the fuck out of your daughters, dude. You do not get to play fucking victim, bitch. Between Ted Bollinger and me, only one of us ever had sex with Natalie. Only one of us ever had sex with Alicia, and it wasn't me. Now, there's multiple people on here who talk about the fact that, yeah, they were aware of it. They had been told about it. They knew what Ted was. They never spoke out. Now, at this time, I got a lot of people who had offered to help me, and because of situations with Carl Rogers over the situation with Candace Bondurant. What happened to Candace Bondurant? That's right. We'll go over that later in another video. It is important. It's not that I wasn't going to the cops. It's that they weren't going to do their goddamn job unless someone went in with me. That was the only way to stop this. And instead, you know, Candace was talking about how she's going to shoot somebody in the fucking head if they come through the door. You know, I'll put a 45 between their eyes. I'm going to fucking hear that shit. Was it some crazy nut job that showed up to her house? No, it was fucking Officer Michael Beard. Now that come into play. See, obviously, I was trying to get Miss Shelley safe. Obviously, I was trying to show her all of the evidence. Obviously. But no, she just wanted to fuck around. She wanted to play head games, just like Ted Bollinger had done at my grandma's funeral. It was a bunch of fucked up bullshit. You'd think that one person would try being a decent fucking person and speaking up. If you're going to tell me that you're being harassed by these people and these people are making you feel unsafe, you need to make a fucking police report. But they didn't. Oh no, Sean, I'll just turn on my Facebook. I just turn on my Facebook. All right, well, turn off your fucking Facebook, but you still need to fucking report that shit. So, of course, at the court date, this is stuff that I need to bring up. And of course, Danica and Shelly are both there, and there's a bunch of murmurs in the courtroom because I'm there. Like, fuck. Ted throws his fucking tantrum. And I'm talking to the bailiff in there. I'm like, hey, you know what? He's in here throwing this tantrum. He has made a very serious safety risk for myself and for others. Obviously, I'm trying to explain this is something that I need you to write a report about what just happened in the courtroom. And that bailiff said, he's not going to do that. And this big fat hippo of a woman. God, you guys don't like it when I make fun of fat people, do you? Well, this is a descriptive, and it's an angry descriptive because she was a fucking bitch. So I'm sitting down, I'm not getting up. I'm trying to explain the situation. Hey, the stuff that he's doing right now, it's not okay. Now, at that point, I still had the phone that had most of the evidence, the phone that I had had since months before Natalie died, that had a bunch of harassment and threats and phone calls from people and a bunch of crazy shit. Now, some of these people that were harassing me, I didn't know who the hell they were. I just knew they were calling me up and harassing me. And it was definitely over the situation with Natalie. So I still got that phone. I've tried to turn it into the cops on multiple occasions by this point. Hey, look at the evidence, but it's not my job. It's not my job. Wrong jurisdiction. You got to go here. You got to go there. No matter what, it's the wrong fucking jurisdiction. No matter what. Same shit I had to deal with before Natalie was dead. Oh, it's not the right jurisdiction. What fucking jurisdiction do I have to go to? Well, we can't do nothing about that. Fuck. So, of course, I get treated like I'm the one who's hostile. I'm literally just sitting there when Ted comes in throwing a goddamn tantrum, and he's hiding behind 6 cops, hiding behind them while he's screaming at me. I fucking ignored him best I could. But I let those bailiffs know, hey, you know what? He is doing this shit. This does need to be documented. It does need to be written down. And they treated me completely like shit. When Joseph Lopez came out, hell, everybody was fine with that. I needed to be allowed to show what Natalie's friends and family had been doing to me for over a year before she was killed. The harassment that Natalie wanted to pretend was happening. Not being able to see my friends. I mean, I made a few sneaky trips to Boulder. I went and saw Pierre. He said he'd come talk to me the next day. Fuck no, he didn't. He didn't even try. He said that he would. He just didn't keep his word. I'm used to that. People not keeping their word. Where does Pierre come into play in all this, right? court was over. Of course, during court, there was stuff that was important that I took to heart. Like the FBI guy, when he was saying that they have to have her code in order to get into the phone, that they were working on it. They were trying to break into her phone. But that, they couldn't see what the text messages said unless they could get into that phone. They needed the actual phone itself, and they needed to be able to have the code to get into it, because the text messages, that's the only way you can access them. You can't just go to the phone company and say, all right, so what did she text to him? What did he text to her? So that was something I remembered. My phones are important. Anything that I save on my phones, I have to keep the phones. I have to have them safe. I cannot allow them to be destroyed. I cannot allow them to be stolen. So then court's over, and of course, I need to make a police report, so I'm going to let all of the Bollingers leave first. And I let all of the Bollingers leave first. And I wait a couple of minutes, and I'm getting ready to go and make my reports. And I need to make another one, obviously, because of the bullshit that happened in court. And, of course, Rochelle Shelley Campbell was still pretending like she was going to be friends with me, like she was going to help me. And her friend Kara Johnson Miles, who had pretended like she was an autism advocate, she reaches out to me and she says, basically something about she's reaching out because she cares, and that Ted Bollinger, she had heard what happened from Shelley and blah, blah, blah. So she was reaching out. It should have been Shelley. It should have been Shelley, not some fucking web wingnut who was pretending to be an autism advocate. But I didn't get to make my police reports. Now, I'd made that video beforehand because obviously I needed to. What was my intent and purpose in being there? Well, seeing Joseph Michael Lopez for one. But I definitely needed to turn in those officers for how they had treated me, for how they had misled the public, for how their actions and decisions had resulted in an innocent man being repeatedly assaulted, including by law enforcement. So I let Shannon Alvarado know what's going on, and that this Kara Johnson Miles lady is going to help me. And she starts spamming me with a bunch of shit from this Kara Johnson Miles lady. Now, I didn't use Shannon Alvarado's name. I was like, hey, I just found out this shit that you're typing about me, this stuff that you were using to mislead these people in these groups, these people who are harming me. You're supposed to be an autism advocate, I mean, that's what Kara Johnson Miles was pretending that she was. Now, mind you, later on, her stuff is in my paperwork. Her lies and slander were allowed in my court dates where I wasn't even allowed to speak. My public pretenders repeatedly didn't show up. They kept on recycling them, so I'd get a new one every time. I mean, this is the same crooked fucking magistrate every time, Kathleen M. Jansky. But let's go back to Joseph Michael Lopez's court date. And Shelley is not messaged me. She's supposed to, though. She's been claiming she's gonna. But after court, them bailiffs escorted me out of the courthouse. I had done literally nothing wrong. That shit needed to be fucking documented. I needed to be allowed to turn in my predators. And these bailiffs literally broke the law to prevent me from doing that. They were also there for all of the screaming and shouting by Ted Bollinger. Shelley was there. Obviously, she had said something to Kara Johnson Miles about it. Obviously, I was the victim in that situation. But with Shannon Alvarado sending me all the stuff that Kara Johnson Miles was typing, then they get into an argument. Kara Johnson Miles is going, well, you should mind your own business. Kara Johnson Miles should have minded her own business. None of us should have had to go through these goddamn web wing nuts like Kara Johnson Miles and Shannon Alvarado. None of us should have. And all these people who'd claimed that they were going to help me, that had done fucked up shit over Candace, I mean, shit, I've got no goddamn money to do a fucking thing on. And of course, as soon as Kara Johnson Miles got busted lying, well, then Shelley starts playing victim. It makes me wonder, what did Kara Johnson Miles say to her? Because obviously, the stuff that they were messaging me at the time, obviously I was the one who was victimized in the fucking courtroom. But then when Kara Johnson Miles got busted, oh yeah, fucking tantrum on. And her and Miss Shelley were pulling all sorts of fucked up shit, and I'm fucking sick of this shit. Meanwhile, there's Officer William Barr. I'm fucking trying to find a safe place to go, and I don't have anywhere to go, and I got lost. Pulled off the wrong road, and next thing I know, I'm on Riverdale. I'm going, holy shit, this is where Natalie was killed. So I went up Riverdale Road, and I found McIntosh Dairy, and I called William Barr. I was like, hey man, this shit's fucked up. I need help. I need people to speak up. And he was telling me that he does internet investigations for the cops there. And just like everybody else, he wants to try to con me into not making a police report. Basically, telling me it's not going to do any good, because of the situation that happened. He said, yes, the situation with Natalie, it was a very sad thing, and so on and so forth. Now, mind you, at this time, he's told me that he's done internet investigations for the police. That's what he's doing at that point in time. That's what he's telling me. And I'm telling him, hey, dude, I am where she died right now. All right. I just want my life to end. All right. This shit is bullshit. Everybody that I trusted, everybody that I went to for help, fucking stabbed me in the back. This shit ain't cool. At this point, Miss Peaches has already claimed several times that she's gonna go in with me, and then when it's time to actually do it, she obviously can't. She doesn't have time. She's got to go get more pot for somebody else. Like shit, why are you doing that? You're making $5 a pot run, and you're spending almost $5 every time that you're getting on the bus to go get your pot. So I mean, what are you really getting out of it? All these people that kept on saying they'd go in with me, they'd go in with me. By that point, I was already in contact with Mandy Hughes, and of course, Kara Johnson Miles was the one that got me in contact with both of Natalie's ex-stepmothers. Not Kara Johnson Miles, I'm sorry. It was Cara Rogers, a.k.a. Cara Mia. And this lady was a fucking piece of work. Oh my God. So she was playing head games, and this lady named Layla Johnson were playing head games, same shit. And I'm dealing with all of these people and all of their bullshit, and the fact that I don't have any money. And I got people telling me I rip people off for dollars. What about all that money you got from the GoFundMe's? You know what? I needed help setting up my own GoFundMe. I was trying to do that before Natalie was fucking killed. And I posted evidence of that too. So I wasn't allowed to turn in any of my predators. And then, of course, Kara Johnson Miles and her friends get on there and start pretending all sorts of shit that didn't happen, and people pretending that they were there that obviously weren't, and claiming that they were in a professional capacity. I think it was Aurora Teen Court, I think is what that lady was claiming she was from. Sarah Victoria Funderburg. And this is somebody, first of all, who is a mandated reporter. If she held that position. The other thing is for her to engage in stalking and harassment, misinformation and lying is obviously going to get her to lose her job, and rightfully so. If you have that little morality, yeah, you shouldn't have that fucking job. You shouldn't have a job working with people. After talking with Will while I was out there, I mean, I was crying. You know, I needed Will to actually do something. I needed him to actually listen. I needed help to turn in these fucking cops. Of course, what do cops do when you try to turn them in? They either arrest you or send you to a fucking nuthatch. So I spoke out. I mean, it's already been months and months and months of being in contact with these people, them claiming that they're going to speak up, they're going to tell the truth. All the horrible shit that they told me about Ted, you know, they really should have come up with their own voice and spoke those things. There's a reason that I thought Ted killed his daughter. I had exposed him 2 weeks earlier with her email. I had exposed him with her email on December 12th on my Facebook and on his. You're damn right I retaliated. That's the thing. I let Natalie know that I would. Either you tell the truth or I will. And that goes for all of you. You don't want to tell the truth? I'll show the truth. And then you can be fucking embarrassed. And then you can have a goddamn excuse for the bullshit that you pulled. So Shannon Alvarado, this whole time, she's saying, oh, you could have your mail sent here. You could have your mail sent here. Brenda Dickinson's telling me I could have the mail sent here. Of course, none of those are actually valid options. I mean, sending stuff to Shannon Alvarado's in California, these people are not intelligent people. Obviously, if I don't have a mailbox to have access to this shit locally, which is what I need, and Shannon Alvarado is saying you can have the mail sent to California, so all of these places are going to send my mail to California, and then what? And then what? I still don't have an address for her to forward it to or to send it to. Shannon Alvarado is a fucking stupid piece of shit. I do mean she is stupid, and I do mean she's a piece of shit. When she gets drunk, she's a fucking shitty person. She knows that she's a shitty person when she's drunk, but she still gets drunk. But I needed her to speak up about the situation with Kara Johnson Miles. I needed her to speak up. She said that she couldn't. Well, I can't. I'm in California. You fucking exposed this shit. You're the one that was sending me these fucking screenshots of these Natalie Bollinger groups with this fucking crazy lady who's pretending to be an autism advocate. Obviously up to no fucking good, Shannon. Obviously the things that she's telling me and the things that she's posting up in these groups are completely different. Meanwhile, I got people who are telling me, yeah, Sean, you know, I want to help you. I'll go in with you to talk to the police. I'll go in with you, like Mandy Hughes. I'll go in with you. I'll go in with you. But then there's always some excuse why she can't go in with me. So I'm wasting a lot of time and energy on people who are just bullshitting me. If they were telling the truth, they'd have had no problems coming forward and saying that in the courts. They'd had no problems doing that. Claiming that they couldn't because they were out of state. That's fucking bullshit. Kara Johnson Miles was allowed to put slander in my court date in Arapahoe County. Slander. Now I got another friend named Mandy, and she was involved in quite a few different situations, but she had her own stuff going on. Now she spoke up about how wrong it was that these things happened in these sleuth groups, that obviously these sleuth groups didn't take the time to do a proper investigation. They didn't take the time to see if their information was correct. They didn't bother to look at evidence from both sides. Problem is, neither did the fucking cops. Not here in Chapel, Nebraska, not in Broomfield, Colorado, not in Aurora, Colorado, where Miss Peaches lived at the time. That's right, I was at Miss Peaches' house when I found out that Natalie disappeared. And Miss Peaches, obviously, in the conversations that are posted on this YouTube with many of these people, you can tell I was telling the truth from the start. Also, you can tell how these people reacted when they found out that their words were on my YouTube. It's not that I never went to them for help. And yes, they should be ashamed of themselves for what they called help. Your words are help. Your words. That's it. Throwing just enough money at me for me to get to the next town. That's not help. That doesn't improve the situation. Matter of fact, that moves me further away from the situation. Makes it more difficult for me to get to those places. Makes it so I have to spend more money to get to those places. Meanwhile, Brenda Dickinson has been telling me that she's going to go in now. Now her excuse is, well, when Natalie died, I almost died too. Well, that might be true. It might not. But after that, Brenda Dickinson said that she would go in with me, and she didn't. She didn't try. She didn't speak up. She didn't nothing. Meanwhile, I'm still being threatened and harassed when I go pretty much anywhere. At this point, I've been able to come to Chapel, obviously. I've been in contact with Mandy Hughes literally the whole time. And I've already had the issue with Candace Bondurant and her bullshit. I've already had the issue with a couple of issues with Cara Rogers. And of course, the things that Candace said to her, Cara Rogers, aka Cara Mia, destroyed the Facebook group that she had made for support and fucking kicked everybody out of the group. All over bullshit by someone who is supposedly my friend. Months earlier, this situation happened. So, I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off, trying to do these things without a support group, without a support network. And I had gone back to Chapel to try to turn in those cops, including Scott DaCosta. And of course, I had to go in alone. And of course, he didn't have to wear a body camera. The situation with Will and the situation with Shannon Alvarado telling me stuff that, well, the stuff that Shannon Alvarado sent me was actual proof. It's actually from these groups. She did actually send it. But where did she send it? These people wanted to tell me. No, don't tell me anything you're not telling the fucking cops. Plain and simple. If you are not telling the police this, why are you telling me? Are you misleading the situation? Now, of course, Dan is doing this bullshit with Layla Johnson Miles, and another lady, Cara Rogers, aka Cara Mia. Cara Rogers has evidence that I need. She was able to record it, and I wasn't because I didn't know how to record. And that was with the victim's rights advocate named Lynette, and they're telling me that they hooked me up with an advocate because they got this Lynette lady's number. Lynette was literally the Bollinger family's victims' rights advocate. I haven't had one of those because I've been illegally prevented from turning in my predators. When I have tried to turn in my predators, these people do shit like this. Now, when did this happen? June 25th, 2018. Same situation, my grandma's funeral, since they hadn't done anything about it. And I'd gone in and talked to Scott, and I said, why didn't you? I said, did you look at it? He said, I looked at the first couple of minutes. I said, why didn't you watch all of it? He said, well, your friend said you were bipolar. That's not what Graham said. Graham did not say I was bipolar. But this is one of the excuses the cops know that they can use. Oh, he's bipolar? Well, we don't have to do our jobs. Meanwhile, I didn't have my clandestine recording device at the time. And of course, I couldn't use my phone for recording stuff, for recording stuff because it was full of fucking evidence. And I just need to show what's been going on. By this point, I've already been threatened on multiple occasions by Carl Snell, who is Leslie Snell's brother-in-law, and Christopher Kurth. And of course, later on, Mr. Snell had actually tried to help me and been apologetic and understanding. And yeah, there's a good possibility he'd be willing to testify against Christopher Kurth. Meanwhile, this shit's going on in multiple states. And there's a situation where, like, all I need to do is turn these people in. That's it. All I need to do is be able to make a police report and actually be able to turn it in. And Miss Peaches has been saying she's gonna. And we've got Natalie's ex-stepmothers trying to fucking hoot and holler and get people all hateful towards me in Jesus' name. And I'm dealing with this Sarah Victoria Funderburg lady getting on and fucking harassing me online. Yeah, that's definitely not fucking professional. At this point, I've made phone calls to where she claimed to work, and they're saying, well, we can't give out that information. Here's the thing. If she's doing these things, she is breaking the law. She is doing things that are predatory. Yeah, you better fucking speak up. You need to speak up. You cannot withhold that information when it comes to the safety of another individual. When that person is literally being harmed by this slander, and they're going out of their way to play like I was some sort of a bad guy in the courtroom. Meanwhile, who was it that was hooting and hollering and shouting? That was Ted Bollinger. Who was it that was hiding behind 6 officers? That was Ted Bollinger. Who is it that had to go in alone? Me. So, of course, after court, I'm coming back to Chapley here to try to get stuff taken care of. And I'm talking to the sheriff here, and obviously Jordan Anderson didn't do his fucking job. If Scott DaCosta had paid any fucking attention to the video, he probably wouldn't have given it to me because his deputy didn't do his fucking job. He tells me that Jordan Anderson isn't there anymore. I'm asking him where the rest of the video is. He said, oh, well, I said, well, there's at least a police report, isn't there? Oh, I'll go check. Thank you for going and checking. And he went and checked, and he said, no, there's no police report. I didn't have a ability to record it at the time, but on the bright side, since then I've actually recorded him saying that. Now, at the time, the receptionist was Destiny Vote. I got some embarrassing stories for Destiny Vote, like, of course, Mr. E's class. She's in class with my older brother. They've got desks in opposing directions, you know. Half of them are facing, they're all facing towards the inside of the classroom. And Eric is my older brother, and Destiny is not wearing any panties, and she's wearing a miniskirt. And he was pretty sure that she was intentionally flashing him her bush. So a lot of people didn't like Eric. And when I moved to this town, I had to deal with that reputation. Family name is important. It don't matter if you're guilty or not. It matters on if you've been there since kindergarten. If you've been there since kindergarten, you're allowed to fuck up. If you haven't been there since kindergarten, well, you have to be perfect, and any imperfection or any rumor of imperfection is good enough for people in this town to make your life hell. So I'm trying to get Shannon Alvarado to speak up. She's arguing with people on Facebook groups. I'm like, no, Shannon, police report. Yes, if you see harassment on the internet or you see someone misleading information on the internet that is getting someone harmed, yes, you can make that report from anywhere. Kara Johnson Miles was allowed to put slander in my court dates in Arapahoe County, and we're going to get to that part. But we also got to get to this piece of paper. I'd rescued Desiree already from the trap house, not once but twice. Now there's a situation here where I got to talk to Cody Selhorst over a suicide call, and yeah, I literally did try to kill myself. Kayla Trujillo told me to use helium, so that's what I tried. It did not work. This guy watched me for at least 45 minutes while I had a mask on my face. Obviously, I was trying to kill myself. Obviously, it wasn't a bluff and it wasn't a joke. When he pulled up behind me, I looked back. I looked right at him. He looked right at me. And then he went around to the other side of the lake and parked there and watched. And when it was a hot day, and I had to specially rig the balloon helium thing so that it would keep on letting the helium out. But I had electrical tape on it. It was a hot day. It was that same black vehicle that I had while I was in Virginia, the one I got from David and Laura Nelson. It was just really hot. And of course, the electrical tape was expanding because of it. And as a result, it wouldn't keep the valve on, because you have to hold the valve. It's a spring valve. If you don't hold the valve open, it doesn't stay open. So it didn't work. I got into an argument with Brandon Jepson. I've literally just tried to kill myself with helium, and Brandon Jepson is going out of his way to be the biggest goddamn douchebag he can. Oh, if you're going to kill yourself, you would have done it already. No, these people pushed me to kill myself on multiple occasions. I was actually dead on one of them. Of course, it's pretty obvious that Scott DaCosta is not going to do his job, and he's just realized that I'm trying to turn in his deputy. This is not good for me. He doesn't have a body camera on. He's probably not likely to put one on for any future engagement unless I make a big fucking stink about it, like I did in Colorado, about how those cops were literally getting away with murdering homeless people by being able to turn off their body cameras. So he realizes that I'm after Jordan Anderson. Obviously, I'm not trying to chop Jordan Anderson's head off. I need to get the rest of the situation that's over here. The situation with Laura Nelson. There needs to be an actual fucking police report about it. And Jordan Anderson never made one. So then we'll fast forward a bit. There's a bunch of people who have been bullshitting me and bullshitting me and bullshitting me. And of course, they never came forward. People like Mandy Hughes and people like Shannon Alvarado and a great many others. I mean, there was a lot of people. Miss Peaches, aka Kayla Trujillo, was going to help me out. But they're taking their dear sweet goddamn time, you know? I mean, Peaches said that she would go in with me to talk to the police all the way back in December, right after Natalie disappeared. She's like, yeah, I'll go in with you. And she never did. And she told me again in January, and again in February, and again in March. She just never did. And again in April, and May, and June, and July. Now come August, you know, this Kara Johnson Miles lady and Natalie's ex-stepmothers have gone out of their way to make me into some ginormous fucking monster. All these people who had said that they would go in with me, that I have invested the time and energy and what little funds that I have to try to actually go see those people because they're going to keep their word if I show up. And Miss Peaches, I get there and she's busy playing on her fucking phone. She knows, you know, that if we don't leave soon to be able to go talk to the Colorado State Patrol office, and of course that's in a fire building in Boulder, Colorado. It's a fire department building. And that's where I got to go to try to turn this stuff in. And Miss Peaches did go with me. But she already knew that it was going to be too late by the time we got there. And I'd explained to her it's going to be too late by the time we get there. But she wanted to play on her phone. And then we get there and they tell us, oh, well, you have to make an appointment. And what else did they say? It's too late in the day. Well, we knew that we needed to make an appointment, so I needed to coordinate with her so that she could go in with me so that we could coordinate around her schedule. She's just fucking procrastinating. And Mandy Hughes was just procrastinating. I needed to get someone to look. I mean, I'd been assaulted quite a bit by that point. I'd been assaulted by Waylon Lolatai. I'd been assaulted by multiple officers, not just the general public. So I ultimately had to try to do something to get something done about it. Obviously, Brenda Dickinson wasn't going to keep her word. Obviously, Miss Peaches wasn't going to keep her word. Obviously, Katie Kate wasn't going to keep her word. Obviously, Kara Johnson Miles was not who she claimed to be. And she misled the situation. Now, I don't know if she misled Miss Shelley or Miss Shelley was in on it the whole time, but the fact is the situation did happen, and there is no doubt in anybody's mind who's seen it that Kara Johnson Miles was an instigator who was trying to make things worse because it was drama and fucking entertainment for her. She was trying to pretend like she was going to help me in order to get information that she could try to twist and contort into something it wasn't. Now, by this point, I've already talked to William Barr. He's already told me about how he's doing the internet investigations and so on and so forth. And, you know, I've come back to Chapel, and Dual County Sheriff's already started his bullshit to cover up for the crimes of his officers. Meanwhile, I'm trying to get the information on which officers it was of his officer, because there was only one Dual County Sheriff's Department officer or deputy, and there was 2 state patrol officers an entire year before Natalie was killed. I mean, it was like January 6th or 7th, something like that, when they took me to the fucking hospital in Sydney. So I mean, this is stuff that's happened. It has happened, and of course, I'm trying to get help. All these people who are claiming that they're going to help, they're saying, oh well, with all these people having their lives threatened. I got lots of people that sent me that. They were being supportive, and then they're like, oh, well, people are threatening to kill me and my family, so I'm out. Sayonara. And this has been going on for months and months and months and months by this point. August came around. I needed to find a way to force the FBI to do their job, force one of these agencies to actually do their fucking job instead of protecting me and Natalie's predators. Yes, these were our predators. They were Natalie's predators before her death, and some of them were my predators before her death as well, and most of them became my predators after her death. So I got a bunch of people that basically are just pretending to be friends of mine. I'm investing a lot of time and money and energy into the help that they're not providing, and then they're wanting to tell me pretty words after I've spent all my goddamn money. Like Miss Peach is telling me, oh, you should just be glad you're not in prison for murder. I'm not. I'm being abused because you're being a fucking stupid cunt and not understanding that you need to come forward about what you know. People are hurting me over a narrative that you know to be false. I still didn't have a safe place. I kept on making trips to go see Miss Peaches, but I couldn't just stop at Miss Peaches. I had to do it while I had something else going on because I didn't have the money. All of my money by this point has been eaten up by the courts. I mean, I'm spending $100 to go from Chapel, Nebraska to Colorado and back. All right, that's $100 each trip. But there's multiple trips every month because I got to make a trip to go to court, and then my public pretender can't meet with me on the same day, so I have to schedule for that. And on multiple occasions, my public pretenders just simply didn't show up. No call, no show. And then I'm supposed to meet with their investigators. Literally, none of the investigators showed up. And they've got me on this court bullshit in uh, Boulder County with Wayland Lolatai. And then there's the bullshit at Clearview where I was sent for trying to turn in Wayland Lolatai. And obviously, if you guys paid attention to the news in Colorado, Wayland Lolatai had a history of doing that before and after he did it to me. Clearview had a history of what they were doing before and after what they did to me, but nobody wants to talk about that. They want to say, oh, well, the investigation called when there was a male who was a minor who was in Clearview, and the father of this minor had called it in. That's right. If that minor had called it in, nobody would have given a shit. But because it was the family of that person, it made a difference. Of course, that kid probably wasn't being accused of a murder that he didn't commit at the time. So all these things that have happened are all very heavy on my mind. It's all very traumatic. I did try my best to make sure that Natalie and Alicia's two stepmothers were informed because they were the ones that were offering to help. And when I realized they were playing fucked up head games, I had to do something. Now, I didn't know if Miss Shelley was being fucking pulled along by her ears or pulled along by her nose or pulled along by her eyelids or pulled along by her lip, whatever the fucking saying is in your area. But the fact is, Kara Johnson Miles wasn't who she said she was. I had to do desperate shit to try to get someone to actually do something instead of fucking empty goddamn promises for months and months. Kayla Trujillo knew that the shit that I was being fucking harmed over was bullshit. But as long as it's not happening to her, it's fine. Now, I've gotten a hold of her on multiple occasions saying, hey, you said that you would go in with me. How's your schedule? She wouldn't tell me nothing about her schedule. I mean, I need her to go in with me to talk to these cops. She is a witness to many of the situations. It's not good enough, though, is it? And I got people telling me that they've tried to make a report and the cops won't take it. People like Mandy Hughes and Cara Johnson Miles and Aaron Cockerham. Matter of fact, I'm going to post those up. Those are pretty important. Of course, who wouldn't that drive nuts? So ultimately, I had to figure out a way to get the FBI involved. Now, my original plan had been I was going to light a fire in Colorado. Well, I suppose I should backtrack a little bit. I was going to go to Lexi Wood's house and get her help. And Lexi Woods, she had just gotten back together with her abusive boyfriend, and she was offering to help. And then, like a few hours later, her boyfriend had showed up, and apparently he said it was not all right. I had been into Selena Maestas, who was, she knew one of Natalie Bollinger's ex-boyfriends, or current boyfriends, I guess, at the time that she died, because she had more than one. And this guy's name was Justin Ward, and Selena Maestas was claiming that Justin Ward was not Natalie Bollinger's boyfriend. No, he was. He really was. So I met with Selena Maestas that night, and she's a stripper in Colorado. And I was explaining to her that I don't have the money to do all this shit, that it's expensive, that it's costing me $600 a month for them just to postpone my court dates over and over and over again. Meanwhile, there are people that went, like Steve Tomlinson was going to help me, and he did go to 2 separate court dates with me. And the first one, they said if I didn't show up, that I was going to be arrested. They said if I didn't show up to the second one, this is actually like 7 or 8, maybe 9 court dates where they postponed this shit. And Zoe Tanner hasn't done shit, and Catherine Hay hasn't done shit. And I gotta try to deal with a sheriff here who's going out of his way to hide the shit that his officers did. Now, 4th of July, I suppose I got ahead of myself because I was going to make the video about the situation with Selena and all that. That all happened after the 4th of July and whatnot. But so I'm in Chapel, Nebraska, and it's before the 4th of July, and Desiree has just pulled her bullshit and stolen all my stuff, including important evidence. And I've already had the issue with, Andrew and Amy. And of course, I don't know all of the details of that. Amy spills all that later on, but I mean, it's an abusive situation. They took complete advantage of me, and I needed help. So I mean, I'm really fucking stressed out. I had to make a choice between keeping my little dinky apartment there in Sydney, and I found the address for it, 934 and a half Jackson Street. You know, I mean, it's not like I wasn't trying. It's that all of that shit's expensive. Being falsely accused is expensive. Having a public pretender who's not going to do her job and she's just going to postpone it over and over and over again. And they're telling me stuff like, well, we're not allowed to use any evidence that wasn't collected by the police. No, that's not the law. That is not Colorado law. You're making excuses. I'd had those guys fucking lie to me enough. I had to have somebody go in with me for that. And Graham did go to several court dates. He didn't pay shit for attention. When he went in with me to the public pretender's office after all the bullshit that they put me through, my public pretender wasn't even there. I didn't understand why we were wasting time there, why there was a no call, no show. And this was more than once that this had happened with Zoe Tanner. I tried to turn her into Catherine Hay, who was her superior, and of course that didn't go well. And I come back here and I'm trying to explain to Joel J. This is who I was supposed to explain. I went over to his office a couple of times before to explain the situation, and he was telling me that it's not his job. He's got to call these other places. Meanwhile, I've got some of these other places telling me I got to go to the county prosecutor. And who was that at the time? That was Joel J. He didn't give a shit. And of course, still everything was full. I couldn't record anything. I tried the best that I could. I needed some sort of recording device. All of my money, $100 a trip, is going for 2 separate sets of court dates. Whalen Lolatai and Clearview. These are what my 2 court dates were over. Whalen Lolatai, who's got a history of assaulting people, assaults me in the jail. And then there's Clearview, wanted to assault me and then drug me. And again, they lost half of the camera evidence. Half of the camera evidence from that situation isn't there. I was trying to call 911 about the abuse at Clearview, not just towards me, but towards other inmates. And I do mean inmates. A lot of these people were there of their own free will. A lot of people chose to be there because they wanted to get help, and they weren't getting help. And they were speaking up about it and being drugged. Oh, how dare you tell on us? We're going to give you drugs. So I went down to talk to Joel J., and of course that didn't fly again. And I've been told by Polly Olson, that's the thing about Polly Olson. She's a witness to this. I went to her on multiple occasions about this situation. She kept on telling me to get a hold of the Nebraska Attorney General's office. Nebraska Attorney General's office. Now, see, that's not saying Polly Olson's a bad person, is it? That's saying I went to her for help, which is the truth. I said that she was sending me to the Nebraska Attorney General's office, which is the truth. I said I called the Nebraska Attorney General's office multiple times, which is the truth. They didn't take the situation seriously. In all of these situations, I had to go in by myself to talk to these people. There's a few situations where somebody was there, they needed to speak up, and they needed to do so in person. Because I'm trying to turn these fucking cops in. Obviously, their cop buddies are going to do everything in their power to prevent you from turning them in. Well, how do I know you didn't write that? Well, you could fucking call the guy. Is that too fucking complicated? Is that above your pay grade to actually put forth some goddamn effort at doing your fucking job? So Jen Beebe is supposed to be helping me, her and Nicole Peralta. And Nicole Peralta, by this point, she's claimed that she has gone in to try to turn in these crimes against me to the Cheyenne County Sheriff's Department, and they say that they won't do anything about it. Meanwhile, I'm having to deal with this same shit in Deuel County and Cheyenne County. I mean, it's not like it wasn't all over the fucking news. And that's when they start pulling the mentally ill thing. When they start doing all they can to prevent me from speaking up and getting heard. Now, this is all stuff that Leslie Snell was not there for and was not aware of. She didn't start working there until after I got out of jail in Arapahoe County. And here's what happened. For me getting horribly done wrong, Jen Beebe was too busy telling me I got to jump through all these hoops that I've literally already jumped through, been jumping through, telling me to call a place by myself, and you got to take the initiative to call them by yourself. I've already fucking called him, bitch, numerous times. But I'm trying to be nice to her, you know? I'm trying to give her the benefit of the doubt. And Nicole Peralta telling me that she had gone down and tried to make a report to the police, that's important. If she really did that and she was really telling the truth, she should have no problems coming forward about that. Nicole Peralta had known about the abuse that I was enduring since well before Natalie died. Now, I really need to turn in the Dual County Sheriff's Department. This happens, of course, and then after this happens, that asshole tries to intimidate me into leaving town. Now, there's conversations with Jace. Jace was involved in multiple of these situations too. His name is Jace Jepson. Let's see, I gotta go to my channel, don't I? Jace Jepson is a witness, but not only that, I recorded the conversation with him. I needed somebody to go in with me. I'd talked to Laura Nelson, and she said that she was afraid for her son, she was afraid for her family, so on and so forth. She was afraid to come forward, and blah, 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 blah. I still didn't have the ability to record. And now at this point, you know, I'm obviously trying to get Dual County to do their job. You know, Jared Hahn, I went in with Molly Smith on God, I want to say it's like the 1st of July, maybe the 29th of June of 2018. And Molly Smith, I've already spoken with her. She's like, you know what? Everything I know about you, I know that you're an honest man. I know that you're a good man. I know that you're good to people. I've seen it with my own eyes. I know that you're funny. And, you know, she's going to try to help me. Now, with all the shit going on with Kara Johnson Miles and then fucking having to deal with Layla Johnson, who is, oh my God, that lady is insane. And it's not even a real person, it's a burner profile. And Dan, of course, he's known about this. Dan Faber has known about this pretty much the whole time and never bothered to speak up. And I say to Laura, hey, Laura, I need you to tell the truth. She said, Sean, if you cared about me, you wouldn't ask me to do that. And I told her, if you cared about me, I wouldn't have to ask you. You'd have done it already. Well, then she found God, and then that was her excuse. So, after going and meeting with Jared Hahn, who had already harassed me on several occasions, and I've explained this to Molly, but she's like, you know, he'll listen to me. Whenever there's a problem at Pumpkin Pantry, I call Officer Hahn, or Deputy Hahn. You know, Deputy Hahn really is a good man. You know, you need somebody to go in with you so that he understands.
And she did go in with me. And she is pissed off at him because he didn't do an investigation. He didn't try to do an investigation. He came and talked to Laura Nelson, didn't he? No, he didn't. He didn't talk to any of the witnesses. Meanwhile, the situation that I was trying to turn into him, with all of these other crimes that are going on, I got to still try to show the situation that happened at my grandma's funeral with Ted Bollinger and Alicia Bollinger and their, what do you call that? It's not catfishing. It's God, I'm sorry. I don't spend enough time in your web sleuth nut job groups to remember the name of it. Gaslighting. So obviously, Ted Bollinger and his daughter were gaslighting me, trying to create the image that Alicia was unsafe and might be being harmed by her father. And he's erasing the messages, like if he erases them, there's no evidence of it. But it still had evidence of them in the notifications. He'd wait till I replied, and then he'd delete the message, and then he'd make another one. And when I'd reply, he'd delete the message. Meanwhile, the whole time, I'm worried sick about Alicia Bollinger. Obviously, this is one of the fucking cunts who wanted to destroy my life by fucking lying out their ass. But she's also someone I care about, just like I cared about Desiree. And even after the fucked up shit that she did, I still came back, went all the way to Cheyenne to rescue her and bring her back because that's what she wanted. When she left the second time, I can't keep on doing that. That was Dan Favorite's money that was used to go rescue her. Because, like I said, I'm spending $600 a month. I'm going to court dates and court appointments. And I literally had to do crazy shit to try to get them to do their jobs. All of these people want to argue on Facebook, but they're not going to speak up publicly. They're going to argue in these Natalie Bollinger groups. That's not doing any fucking good. Meanwhile, these people in these Natalie Bollinger groups are threatening to kill me and threatening all sorts of other stuff against my family. And then there's the indirect threats. You'll be sorry. I'm going to get you. Indirect threats. Well, if I make an indirect threat, it's not intentional. It's somebody manipulating my words to pretend something else happened, which is why I always explain. I did retaliate against Natalie Bollinger and her family over the shit that they did. I exposed Ted Bollinger. Now, I tried to do it nicely. I tried to do it nicely. I tried to do it the right way. I tried going to my friends. I tried going to law enforcement. I tried going to the source of the rumor I was being assaulted over. Because at least the source knew it was bullshit. Of course, she wanted to have a relationship with me, which is pretty obvious from our messages. We were just friends, which is pretty obvious from our messages. I tried to sidestep it every time she started trying to pull the I'm in love with you bullshit. So she started typing that I used to think I was in love with you. Much better. I thought that it was done and over, So here I am. It's just a few weeks away from complete and total hell. I mean, my life's already hell at this point. Cody Selhorst has literally gone out of his way to ignore the crimes that I'm trying to turn into him by Chris Kurth and Carl Snell. And, 3 hours of talking to him, that's what he wrote down. Where's their body cameras? Where's the body camera that should have been present on that? Where is it? Where is it, Scott DeCosta, you piece of shit? You fucking crooked fuck. Where's the goddamn body camera? Where is the goddamn body camera? And where's the paperwork that says which of your deputies, took me to the hospital in January 2017? Where is that? Where is it? You fucking piece of shit. So, of course, Molly Smith, after going in with me to try to make the report that I tried to make at my grandma's funeral and tried to make on the 28th of June, tried to make again to Han with Molly there. We could only get through part of it. And then Han, the next day, I literally had to chase him around town. Now, when it comes to actual stalking, that's probably about the closest you're going to find. Yes, I literally chased him around town to get him to do his fucking job. He stopped out at Chapel Lake, got out of his vehicle, yelled at me that he looked at it yesterday, got in his vehicle, and fucking drove off. So then, obviously, at this point, I need help. I try to get a hold of Jen Beebe. I need to turn in these officers. Now, later on, Jen Beebe told me that the reason she made the decision she made is because the Dual County Sheriff's deputies had told her that I had attempted to grab their gun and tried to suicide by cop. Now, in the videos with Scott DaCosta that are on this channel, he admits that's not true. But then again, she said that to me in the Scottsbluff jail. So I wasn't going to be able to record that, was I? Just like the conversations with Marcia Estrada, I record everything. There was one conversation that I told her I would not record it, and I did not record it. So then I can't get these cops to do their jobs. There's been a situation with Desiree and Brenda Dickinson. Since I'm in Chapel, yeah, I'm having my mail sent to her place. And that's why I was having my sister sort through that mail trying to find all the stuff that's got Brenda Dickinson's name on it. I told the truth. If you're not going to fucking come forward, I'm going to show the truth. And yeah, I did show a couple of the letterheads and stuff that says attention Brenda Dickinson. And of course I folded those so that you couldn't see her address because, well, that could get me in trouble. Let's see if I have one of these out here that's available. Nope, not at the moment. So after being threatened, harassed, intimidated, and assaulted on multiple occasions by law enforcement, trying to turn them in, and finally, Dual County Sheriff's Department pretends like they're going to help me. And lo and behold, Jen Beebe shows up, and she's not hearing nothing. I mean, it's like she's on fucking drugs. Nothing that I'm saying is sinking in. I'm trying to speak, and she's talking over me the whole time. I'm trying to turn in these two deputies who are there and present, and I was fairly certain that Scott DaCosta was there too. I mean, he knew specifically at that point that I was trying to turn in specifically Han and Selhorst over the bullshit that they pulled. And who are the two deputies that are there? Han and Selhorst. So they manipulated her into having me sent to Scottsbluff on an M1 hold over this situation that had happened a week earlier. Obviously, I'm not trying to kill myself. Obviously, I'm trying to get help. Obviously, I'm trying to turn in these situations. Anybody with half a fucking brain would have known that. Meanwhile, I still need Laura Nelson to fucking come forward. Laura Nelson was involved in a lot of this shit. Gave me a lot of rides to different appointments, like the Stout Street fucking clinic. Of course, the only person who had the testicular fortitude or intestinal fortitude was Molly. That's right, Molly. Um, so, of course, just prior to this, prior to the situation with Jen Beebe, and of course, after the situation with Jared Hahn out at Chapel Lake, I'm meeting with William Barr again. Okay, this is Jessica Barr's husband. Jessica Martindale is how I knew her here. And Jessica Martindale, her sister, Justine, said that she was going to help me. Desiree had just pulled a bunch of bullshit with stealing my stuff. And it was a completely screwed up situation. So I'm having difficulties. I just got the paperwork that I had been waiting on, the developmental disability paperwork that is supposed to make it so that I can actually turn in my predators. Because when you're called mentally ill, you're not allowed. They're not going to let you. You have to have someone else there present. This is not rocket science. It's not like I haven't said this. I've probably literally said that 10,000 times by now. I mean, someone has to go in with you. Someone has to go in with you. Someone has to go in with you. And I've already had the argument with Graham, and fucking I yelled at him. I was fucking pissed. Dude, he asked if this was one of those things where I just needed someone to talk to, and you said yes. No, I was trying to turn in what Ted Bollinger and Alicia fucking Bollinger were doing. At that point, I was obviously fucking scared shitless for Alicia Bollinger. By that point, Natalie had already let me know about her dad. Alicia had already let me know about her dad. Danica had already let me know about her dad. And Rochelle had already let me know about her dad. Ted Bollinger is a fucking piece of shit. He don't want to go to prison. He don't mind driving around. He's a felon, and he was busted after Natalie was killed with methamphetamines in his vehicle and a loaded fucking pistol. Of course, I save all of the evidence of this shit. My technological abilities make it fucking impossible. I needed someone to go in with me in person to make sure that these people looked. But none of these people that work for the state are going to look unless someone else goes in with me. Tara Smith turned off the evidence I was trying to show her of the abuse. She wasn't interested in looking at evidence. And without one of you guys there, who was going to make her? So, William Barr, this is the day that Justine is supposed to help me. I went over there the day before having a panic attack. Pamela Martindale told me, hey, Sean, there's kids here. You need to not freak out. Okay, Justine will help you tomorrow. Justine said that she'll help you tomorrow. So if you come back tomorrow, Justine will help you. Now, I obviously the paperwork that I had, it was already 2 weeks overdue. Brenda Dickinson gave me this paperwork, and it was already 2 weeks overdue. They set me up for an appointment that was already 2 weeks overdue by the time I got the letter. That's the best way to explain it, I suppose, because if I don't word it correctly, you get the wrong idea. So then, of course, there's that situation with Amy and Andrew that had happened. The situation with Desiree that had happened. These people that had said that they would help me fucking didn't. Desiree was friends with Rose M. Kelly. That's Natalie's real mom. I was in a desperate situation, and I was talking to Molly Smith about getting not the developmental disability paperwork, but I wanted to make Natalie, or not Natalie, but Alicia and her mom, my guardians, I wanted them to know what was going on. I wanted all of this evidence to get sent to them. And I gave Molly Smith the address to send it to. And yeah, you're right. I haven't sent that address to anybody. You're right. I haven't been telling everybody all of them addresses. I still care about these people. I mean, why wouldn't I? Yeah, they did fucked up shit. Everybody does fucked up shit, especially when they're desperate, especially when they're scared, especially when they're hurting. But, it's been 5 years of abuse over shit that the police should have taken care of. If somebody would have gone in with me, actually gone in with me, and been there and present so they could verify the things that I said and the things that I did. Molly Smith can. Not all of it, obviously, only the parts that she was there for. And I'm not asking people to tell the truth about shit that they weren't there for, because if they weren't there for it, then it's obviously not the truth. If you weren't there for it, say you weren't there for it. That's the truth. If I'm talking about a situation that you were there for, admit it. Tell the fucking truth. So William Barr, when I come back the next day, Justine is being non-committal about anything. She's not telling me that she's not going to help me. She's giving me the, well, later on bullshit. She told me to be there. I want to say she said to be there at 11. And I got my developmental disability paperwork that needs to be filled out. It is overdue already, but without help and without internet access, I'm basically screwed. At that point in time, I'd been parking outside of Dennis and Brenda's house because, well, I had internet access on my computer. I had Brenda's internet code already on my computer. I didn't type it in every time. I didn't have to. She saved it to my computer. She knew how to do that. We used to sit down side by side and play our computer games together. I'd play War Thunder and Brenda would play World of Warcraft. Kind of a family thing for her. And I needed Brenda to come forward, and she was just so fucked up on her rheumatoid arthritis meds, and those things fuck you up. They do. They fuck with your internal organs. They make you fucking shit weird and stuff like that. But I needed her to pay attention and listen, and wasn't happening. So William Barr tells me, he's still doing internet investigations, and he tells me that he's basically trying to convince me to let it all go, to not turn in these officers, to just forget about it, and so on and so forth. And he's explaining to me that I'm just a number. I'm just a number to them. I'm just a number to them. Like, he should have fucking spoke out about that too. And he tells me that he does internet investigations for the police in Colorado, that he's got a different job. He tells me that he lost his job, when I was talking to him just a few months earlier, right after Joseph Michael Lopez's court date. He was telling me that he lost his job as a Denver police officer because why? What he claimed is that he turned in his partner for stalking a woman, and that they fired him and they dropped the charges against his partner, and his partner still gets to work there. So when he's here for the 4th of July celebrations that he comes to Martindale's for every year, this is just a couple of days before, I've already lost my phone. I've already had those issues, All right, I hadn't lost my phone yet. I had already had the issues with trying to turn this stuff in, and then I lost my phone. But William Barr was talking to me about this and, telling me all this stuff. And, of course, the timeline. I got to try to remember this shit from years ago. And I got to remember, did I have my phone when that was going on? I think I did. But I also remember where I was when I lost my phone. I'd gone down to Julesburg, Colorado to get some marijuana. Did you know that marijuana is legal in the state of Colorado where William Barr works? And he's trying to claim that I was saying some crazy shit about doing illegal drugs. Like, no, dude, I don't do fucking drugs. From time to time, I do smoke pot. It only works for generalized anxiety, and even then, it really doesn't do me any good if I'm stuck by myself. So there's no reason for me to smoke pot unless I'm needing help from people who are smoking pot, because they're going to be paranoid if you're not smoking too. William Barr tells me that the Craigslist post was real. The Craigslist post that Natalie posted, and I might be wrong about this, but I think he said that she had posted it twice. Don't quote me on that part, because I don't know if he had said that, you know, she had posted it more than once, or if I had read that somewhere. But for certain, he had verified that it was real. I needed him to speak up. And if he lost his job for turning in a cop that was actually stalking a woman, well, that's fucked up. And I'm on his side. And I'm willing to speak up, and that woman does need protected if that's the actual situation. So, of course, comes the end of the night. It's already been hours and hours, and Justine still hasn't kept her word. And I tried to say, hey, Justine, I've been here all day. You know, I've been sitting here with you guys all day long. I've been keeping my mouth shut, but I need your help. Well, can't you do it by yourself? Fuck, wouldn't have been nice if she'd have said that the day before, that she wasn't going to help, instead of offering to and then literally wasting an entire day of my goddamn time. So yeah, I went through town. I waited until it was after all these kids are in bed, because I didn't want to run anybody's kids over. And I went screeching through town, one end of town to the other, and fucking slamming on my brakes, and screeching through town, and slamming on my brakes, and screeching through town, and slamming on my brakes. And I'm honking my horn the whole fucking time. The whole town knows that I'm out there doing this shit. Everybody in Chapel, Nebraska heard it. There is nobody in Chapel, Nebraska gonna sleep through that. I mean, sure, Chapel, Nebraska is a mile from one side to the other that way, but it's less than a quarter of a mile this way. And Main Street, well, that's the main stretch. If you can imagine me revving up the vehicle, slamming on the brakes. Obviously, if I call 911, the cops ain't going to do shit. They're not even going to make a police report. I got to do something. Now, I was told that if somebody calls 911, these cops have to make a police report. If they're not going to take it from me, they're going to take it from somebody. When I say I admitted to everything I did wrong and all the crimes that I committed, that's true. But guess what? They dropped those charges. Well, that was dumb. I only broke the law to get a fucking court date. So, of course, I got to deal with a bunch of bullshit over it. And, you know, it's worth it. I'm trying to save people's lives. Obviously, I'm dealing with fucking cops. There's no such thing as a good cop. They keep proving this. Right now, Brent works for a crooked sheriff. I love Brent, all right? Brent Jepson is one of my favorite people. But him being one of my favorite people, doesn't detract from the fact that he works for a crooked sheriff. Brent. Here's a conversation with him before he started working for the Dual County Sheriff's Department. People want to pretend I was making this shit up. No, I saved conversations with people. And yeah, they're pissed. Brent wasn't as pissed as the rest of his family was. He basically just was like, you know, whatever. You know, it happened. Jace, he's like, you know what? I'm not afraid of having my words up there, but he is afraid to show up in court. He is afraid to speak up in court. And he was there, obviously, in multiple situations. So this is the point, screeching like that, and hooting and hollering. And they come and talk to me and give me my ticket. And I explained to them, hey, you know what? Somebody needs to be here and present for my safety. And that was Jen Beebe. So Jen Beebe shows up, and that's good because I need a witness. Nobody in this town's got the balls to stand up to those son of a bitches but me. Miss Molly was basically there for support. She didn't know a whole hell of a lot about the situation. She knew, and the Jepsons knew, that I was trying to get the developmental disability paperwork together. They knew that I was trying to get the guardianship paperwork too, and we just couldn't get the printer over at the Jepsons' place working. Rory was going to help me with that. He had explained to me by that point that he was having some similar issues with the Dual County Sheriff's Department not willing to investigate crimes because it was a city council member who was murdering cats, murdering kittens, and admitting to it. And Rory tried to turn it in. They weren't going to listen. Obviously, if they're helping child molesters like Robert Warnick get away, they're not going to do a goddamn thing about a city council member murdering some kittens. So we call up Jen Beebe. Jen Beebe is supposed to be there so I can safely make a report. But Jen Beebe gets there and she's not listening to a fucking word I have to say. I mean, I literally have to drop everything that I'm doing and scream at the woman. I'm trying to turn in 2 deputies who are there and present. And I need Jen Beebe there so that I can turn in these 2 deputies. And I also need Scott DaCosta there so I can turn in these 2 deputies. But instead, I've got these intimidation tactics where I'm trying to turn in my predators, and my predators get to stand there like this. So I explained to her, hey, you know what? These people pushed me to the point that I literally attempted suicide because they won't do their jobs. I'm trying to turn these guys in. All right. Obviously, I'm not trying to kill myself. It is pretty obvious that I'm trying to get help. What did she do? She had me committed to the hospital in Scottsbluff at their recommendation. After the slander that she was told by the police that she knew that I was trying to turn in. I mean, she already knew by this point from our meetings, from me trying to explain I'm trying to turn these officers in because of previous experiences with Hahn and Selhorst. They'd tried to intimidate me into leaving town. When that didn't work, fuck it, trump up charges, right? So they take me to the Scottsbluff Hospital. And I'm telling them, hey, you know what? Jen Beebe's got my backpack full of evidence. The fact that you guys are treating me the way that you are is entirely not okay. They took me there on a 72-hour hold. They held me less than 20 hours. I was assaulted by a guy named Ruben in there who was trying to break my fingers. Well, he shouldn't have been trying to break my fingers. Now, under normal circumstances, they really don't give a shit about you. They don't mind slamming you down and putting fucking drugs in you. But I found the one thing in that hospital they actually gave a shit about. Their fucking electronics. And you're goddamn right I broke that shit. I'd say, get the fucking cops here. Get the cops here. Get the cops here. I am not going to take your fucking drugs. You have no fucking clue what's going on. The moment I come through the door, you're trying to shove drugs down my throat. You don't know a goddamn thing about the situation. You're just assuming that what those deputies told you is the truth, and you're trying to drug me for it. This is unprofessional. No, you're not putting your fucking drugs in me. They told me I could either take the drugs or they were going to slam me down and force them into my system. So I held their shit hostage. There was a guy who worked there that he was a security guard, and he was about the only reasonable person through all of that. He talked to me on a few occasions about the situation that was going on. Also, I'll tell you about the situation when I left. I'm going to start another video. I can't go through that shit anymore. I can't go through all of that anymore. I can't look at it anymore. That's evidence that the shit that I've been telling you is true. And look how much there is. That's not even all of it. Look at the camera cord isn't long enough.